Hello, this is Daryl from Modern Work Mentor. We're going to take a look at what happens to Microsoft Loops when a person leaves the organization. There's a concern that when loops are created in conversations and Teams chat or now in email, that they're saved into OneDrive. And what happens when that person moves on? Where are these files going to be uh, continued? And can people still continue to collaborate on these files even after the person's left? So we're going to step through some of these things. We've got Jack here. Jack is going to be leaving shortly, and he has a few loops that are on the go with collaboration. He's got a group chat here where he shared it with Elizabeth and Laura. He also has a loop just going with Matt, and that's just an ideas list. And then over here in email, he has sent out a Q&A list so that he can try and get some answers back to respond to a client. And so we've got a few different loops. Where are they stored? They're stored in OneDrive. When a loop is created in Outlook, it is stored within the attachments folder of Jack's OneDrive. And the other two loops are stored within Microsoft Teams chat files, also within Jack's OneDrive. So what's going to happen when Jack leaves the organization and his account is deleted? We're going to step through some of these things now. We've got Jack's account open here in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and we're going to step through and delete Jack's account. So Jack has a manager, and that is a good person that we would probably choose to assign his OneDrive to, whether it be a manager or potentially another team member who can go through Jack's content and just make sure that we've got the content rescued and continued to be able to use by the team. So let's give another user access to the OneDrive. We'll look at giving that to Laura. Laura is the his manager. Now you'll note here that by default, OneDrive files are kept for 30 days after a user is deleted. So that means that Laura has 30 days to do something with it. You can change this retention time and increase it, and perhaps that's a good thing to do because you might want to give Laura some more time to go through that content and decide what to keep and what to leave. There's a few other things here that we can just leave by default. Let's just go through and delete that user. So it's removing various things, and it's also going to assign access to Jack's OneDrive so that Laura can go through and see that content. Okay, OneDrive access has been given to Laura. Let's now take a look at Laura's experience. And here is Laura. Let's see if she's got something in her Outlook. Okay, so this looks potentially good. Laura now has access to Jack's OneDrive. The files will be deleted in 30 days, so do something about that. And to access that, go to this link. So Laura can click through and it'll open up Jack's OneDrive. Great. So the first thing, Laura doesn't necessarily know how loop works. Does she know where to find these loops? She might go through and see important looking folders and documents that may have been organized in Jack's OneDrive, but it's going to be a good idea to let a person know that here's two other places you should check to look for these loops, and that would be the Microsoft Teams chat files and the other folder attachments, and that's for the loop for that was created in Outlook. Okay, so great. What we're going to do is we're going to bring some of these files over. One will bring some over into Laura's OneDrive, so we'll see what happens if the files are still shared with the collaborators, and we'll also move a file over to a Microsoft team and see what happens there. Now, before we do the moving, let's also take a look at the experience at the moment. We've got here, Matt is in that conversation with Jack, and so you can see that Matt can still access the content, and so that's fine. And also, Elizabeth can still see that conversation right there with the group access to that loop. And the other one that we were going to check was, we'll just open up Outlook as well. This is the loop here with within the Outlook email. So at the moment, all of these things are still shared, still working. The OneDrive has not been deleted, so they can continue to add content. You could answer a question here. How do I make sure that the important content isn't lost? Let's see, reassign to a team member. Cool. So that loop is very much still alive. Okay, let's go back to Laura's view of Jack's OneDrive. Jack has a loop, and let's go back to our Teams chat files, and we'll work with those first. So this is some ideas, an ideas list that has been shared with Matt, and Laura's going to move that to her own OneDrive. So let's go ahead and we'll select that file and move. Now this will bring up the browser of various different places that Laura has access. At the moment, we're looking at Jack's OneDrive. Clicking My Files will take Laura back to her own OneDrive. So that's kind of handy. We'll create a new folder. We'll call this Matt, and we'll call this Jack's Loops, just so I know what they're for and that they're all stored there. And we'll click into that folder. And here's something that I'm testing as part of this. It's this feature down here where do I want to keep sharing with the same people that have access to this loop? So this is the loop which was just shared between Jack and Matt. And yes, I still want Matt to be able to go in and contribute to this loop and still access those ideas for that project. So I'm going to move that loop into Laura's OneDrive. Here we go, it's moving. Moved successfully. And if we click through to, let's just control left click to open that in a new tab. Make it easy to return. Now we're in Laura's own OneDrive. We're in the folder that we created for Jack's loops. And the ideas loop that has been shared with Matt is moved. Okay, so let's go back to the conversation that Matt had with Jack and see if he can still access that loop. Now, looking promising so far. Let's see. Can I add more content? Ooh, something went wrong. So, I did expect this to happen. The loop that had been shared with Matt from Jack's OneDrive had Jack's pathway through to that loop. So the effect on this experience is that Matt can't go back to that same conversation and access the loop from there. He doesn't have that embedded experience. That's probably not a bad thing because Jack's no longer here anymore to be able to have a conversation with. But how does Matt continue to access that loop and continue to work on it? Well, it's not going to be from this conversation. And if Matt was to click through to the link where that loop is supposedly stored, it's no longer there, it's been moved. Matt wouldn't know that though. So how will Matt know that the loop has been moved? Did Matt get something in email? We've got no indication here. So there's that loop that was shared via an email. There are, let's see, no, just different teams that Matt has been added to. So that's interesting. It has been shared in Laura's OneDrive. Supposedly, Matt can still access it, but Matt hasn't received any notification. So this is something else to consider. If Laura has moved this loop to her own OneDrive and has chosen to share that still with Matt, then She needs to let Matt know that's the case. Let's have a look at the sharing permissions in here while we're just trying to understand what's happening to this. So this doesn't really look like it's being shared with Matt. We can see that it's been modified most recently by Matt. Maybe if we manage access, it might be a better place to look. And I don't see the loop has been reshared with Matt at all. Even though we tick that box to say, yes, we want to share that again with Matt. Let's go back and do that to one other loop. All right, so this one has been shared with Elizabeth Swan, and we'll select the loop and we'll move that to Elizabeth's OneDrive files. Back up here to my files, and we'll call this, oh, that's still Jack's loops. So we'll place that in here, and we'll tick this box, keep sharing with the same people. So this continues sharing with the same people and notifies them that the file has been moved. Let's do that again. Maybe I didn't tick that box last time. All right, so that has been moved. We'll go through to Jack's loops. Is there any difference here? Going to manage access and see if those permissions are still there. No, so it looks like that feature is not working as expected. Maybe this is because it is a loop, that the feature only works on regular Office documents. So that's interesting. As we have copied that over, we do still want to share these out with Matt and with Laura. So perhaps we can do that. We can share that this way by going in and sharing it explicitly with Matt. So let's say specific people, and then Matt, and we'll send that through. So that is what I would have expected to happen when the file was moved, and we tick that box to say share that with Matt again and let him know, notify him that it has moved. And similarly, well, let's just check that now. Did Matt? Yes, Matt has now got that email because Laura went through the steps to share it as a document, and Matt can click on it. And I expect that Matt will be able to open this up just like an Office document and treat that as a document that I can add more ideas to. More ideas. Good. Okay. But in moving this file, it's clear that it's not a seamless experience. That it would take some effort to be able to go through and make sure that people know that the file has been shared. Good to see though that we can still access that content, we can still get in and use it. Let's go back to Laura and we'll share this another way by opening up the loop. This effectively does the same thing. We're inside the loop. I can go through and share it from here. So that's the same sharing dialog, and share it with specific people again. And send that through to Elizabeth. Okay, so I expect Elizabeth will get that email. We'll go check that out. Yes. And there shouldn't be any difference here in the experience that Laura goes through. Yes, I can see. Here's the loop, and I can work on it. The other loop that we're going to move is the one that we created within Outlook. And we're going to move this one to a Microsoft team and into a specific channel. So let's get back to Laura's experience of that. We'll go into Jack's OneDrive, and into the attachments folder where the loop for Outlook is stored. And we'll move this now to a Microsoft team. So I'm going to be looking for a team in this quick access area. We'll see the teams that I frequently access and follow. And I am a member of the engineering team. And this great new dialog which shows the library, the document library in the background, and this other view where I can see the channels. And that's a good one to open up and use if you want to put the file particularly in a channel. So I'm going to put it into research, and I will tick this box again. We'll see if it has any different behaviors when we choose to continue sharing with the same people, but so we can move that file over to SharePoint. Let's move that over. Okay, and that's in research. Now, rather than clicking through and seeing that, we're going to go into Microsoft Teams and view it that way. We'll go into the engineering team and into research, into the research channel, and open up files, and here is the loop. So that's good. It still shows and it keeps the who edited the loop last, so we can still see who was it modified by last. But let's have a look if Matt has received anything in email to say that that loop has been moved. Doesn't look to be the case. Have a quick check in junk mail just to make sure. Nope. Okay. But while we're here, Matt is part of the engineering team, so he will be able to go through and work on this file anyway. Let's go through and have a look there from Matt's experience. Into the team, into the research team, and then work on this loop. Now, loops aren't fully supported yet in Teams channels, in that you can't get that embedded experience, but you can see that the loop still performs like a loop documents, that you can edit it, you can add to it as part of the experience of working on files. I can add a task list, and I can add a different task. So this is confirm you have collected all Jack's files, and assign that to Laura. We'll give that a date next week. Good. So what we're seeing here is that you can move the files over, that Laura had been assigned access to Jack's OneDrive and can move the loops over to different locations. But what it does do is it breaks that experience of being able to collaborate in that same conversation. So this loop is not going to load, it's going to keep syncing and throw an error eventually. And similarly with the email. So if we go back over to the email here, then this loop is also not going to load because the files have been moved into Laura's OneDrive and into the Microsoft team. So this experience, I am sure, will get some work and improvement as part of tidying up and making sure that when people do leave the organization, that we can continue to collaborate on these loops, particularly in the experience of going to a Microsoft team, that when we move that loop over to the team, that it still works as a file, we can still collaborate on it. But we want to be able to have that embedded experience and add that to a conversation. Today, if I was to add that to a conversation, let's just add the file, and it will be just like an attachment. Share that link. let's work together. We don't have that nice looking embedded loop that is there that we can edit immediately. So that was an interesting discovery to go through those steps to see what that experience was like of Jack leaving the organization. Did collaboration continue? Not seamlessly, far from seamlessly. We can move those files over to different locations. Laura can move it to her own OneDrive or to a team, a shared space that we can work on together. But ticking that box to let people know that the file has been moved and it still shares it is not working. Maybe I come across a feature there that that's still not working very well with loops. So hopefully that'll work in the end. And secondly, when loops are actually supported in Microsoft Teams, we expect to see that embedded experience. But I don't expect to see a loop being moved from one person's OneDrive to another to be a seamless experience. Uh, that those links will still work within the places that they have been shared. So we are seeing that yes, once loops can be fully supported in a team space and a shared space, that is the better place to create them. So that when people move and change and go to different places, that the loop will still be shared and we can still continue to collaborate on it. But we have seen that it is possible to bring those loops over into the new places to at least rescue the hard work that we have put into working on those loops, those amazing ideas, and that we can continue to work on it at least as a file in the office.com space. Can't wait to see what's going to happen when the full loop application helps to bring these things together. Maybe it will solve some of these problems and help us to continue to work together on files even after they've been moved from a person's OneDrive. So let me know if that was helpful. I know it was a bit of a stretch going through all of these things and taking a look at it. If you still managed to stick with me and watch all these things and listen to the summary, congratulations. But yeah, if you are new here and you did like what you saw and you want to keep looking at these sorts of things around modern workplace with Microsoft 365, then subscribe to the channel and give me a like if you found this video useful. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.